Okay, my name is Darryn Anthony. I'm a former weightlifter, now currently a coach. My introduction to sport started at a very young age. I loved sport, all sport. Didn't really matter what it was, as long as I was participating in it, it was fun. So yeah, did a bit of rugby, athletics, cricket, tennis, athletics. I think I said that already. Yeah, and then I got introduced to weightlifting from a young age, gave it a bash. Ended up taking me to some cool places, taught me a lot of really great lessons, things I'm grateful for. Yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Lovely.
Yeah, sure. So when I was probably, I think 9, I was taught the Olympic weightlifting techniques. My father didn't really have the information at hand then, like we do now, so it was a little bit taboo and too young, so we didn't train much. And then at about 13, he kind of allowed me to train for about maybe, I would say somewhere between 4 and 8 weeks in a year, like in the gym, but not really pushing, not grinding, just more learning how to move and like building some general strength. And then at 14 is when, or in standard 6 is when we officially like committed to weightlifting being a pursuit, in conjunction to school sports. So in standard 6 I played cricket, then rugby, then athletics, then I'd do weightlifting. Then standard 7 I quit cricket, so that kind of summer season I could commit to weightlifting, and I suppose a little bit more like S&C, preparing for rugby. My dad also trained a lot of athletes, a lot of sprinters, not just weightlifters. So I was very fortunate to have those foundations and access to developing speed and power and strength and condition and all those factors. You've actually done incredibly well, because it's a demanding pursuit. So yeah, that was basically my high school, and I loved it. I loved sports, I loved training. I feel, when I look back, I feel very grateful and very blessed that I had the opportunities, I had the exposure, I had the father I did, and also I went to K.E.S and I loved it. I thought it was a fantastic match for me as a person. So yeah, that's how we kind of kept the split.
Lovely.
Okay, so my dad's name is Andrew. He started weightlifting, I think also around about 14, something along those lines. He was exposed, I think he had a group of friends and they were all like, you know, they enjoyed lifting and boxing and racing cars and like all of that sort of thing back in the day. So I think they had quite an awesome training environment from the things that I've heard and like picked up over the years. So he got exposed really young. I mean, if you think of it now, he's been in the game for, 52, 53 years. He's been exposed to actual Olympic weightlifting. You know, when we were chatting earlier, I said, like, when you stop weightlifting's a very youthful sport. When you stop for a period of time, it's like you lose something, and it's hard to quantify exactly what it is, because you might still be able to get technically better, you might be able to get stronger, but there's something you miss, there's something you lose. So yeah, he got also great exposure, great opportunities in terms of learning the sports, being exposed to the sports. My uncle Rodney as well. Rodney was an absolute monster on the platform. He was multiple-time world champion. As far as I know, he attempted quite a few world records. He might have got a few, but like really strong. So that's kind of my lineage, so to speak. And then yeah, growing up, I was exposed to it through my dad. My dad was my coach. He did my programming. He taught me about mindset, attitude, how to think, how to deal with situations, problems. He also taught me to aim big. So yeah, I'm very, very lucky about that. My dad's very sharp. He understands strength far beyond what I think people realize. But he's got a very placid and calm and humble demeanor. And I think a lot of people almost look down on that, like they have this ego, like they can do better, they are better, and that's fine, like, you know, it's okay. But I think I stand corrected, but I think to this point he's still coached the highest performing lifters in the country. So if you start looking at formulas, and that's just the absolute reality. So I think personally, I might be biased, but I think based on the data, he is the best coach in the country. And not because he's the best coach, because I think he just understands it better than the rest of us. And he spent 50 years doing that. So yeah, brilliant coach. But again, obviously I'm biased, but that's my take. My dad always said to me when I was younger, my dad would get very antsy about people like trying to steal his programs or his ideas, or like the way he would kind of put something together. And there was a verse that I think it comes from scripture as far as I know, but it's the master will always remain the master. So nowadays, all these years later, I have to keep telling my dad, I'm like, don't worry dad, the master will remain the master. I even tell my own athletes, I'm like, if you want the best coach, you need to see my dad. So yeah, that's my take on it. Yeah, I'm not really sure how else to position him, but yeah, he was also a phenomenal weightlifter in his youth. Like he did numbers at crazy young ages that are still to this day like no one's done. So, you know, obviously I grew up in the sport, so I remember, I have a terrible memory, but I remember lifting. And I can tell you each year the numbers I did, what body weights, like I know my journey. And my dad at, I think 16 years old, in the 67.5 category back then, had snatched 110 kilos. So I mean, if you go look nowadays, that's a youth athlete at 67 kilos snatching 110. I mean, I don't even think our senior national record for 67 division is 110. I could be wrong, but if it is 110, it's 110. It's not much more than that. And he did that at 16 years old. So I mean, he was a hell of a talent. My dad tried to always instill a principle of like, just always give your best. It doesn't really matter what your best is. It just matters that you give it. So like I try to do well at school. He tried to breed that mindset from a young age. And I suppose hindsight's great because we always have the opportunity to look back and say, I know I could have done better there. But I think if you get to a point in life where 5 years later you look back and you go, I couldn't have done better, I gave it my all. Like that's where you want to get to as quickly and as early as possible in life. Because I think we all look back and we go, geez man, I could have done better at school. I could have aced varsity, or you know, I could have done better in that job, or even in a relationship, or in that pursuit. Like, I think the sooner you can realize that today, give your best. And all you have to do is give your best today, because it's one day at a time, you know?
Nice.
Like, firstly, the experience was absolutely phenomenal. It was very surreal. But I think it actually sets in how surreal it is after the fact, when you've actually like kind of been there, done that, because your first intent is to go there and to perform. And I had no illusions. I know where I was ranked in the world. I know how good I was and how good I was not. So I didn't go there with these delusions of grandeur of like, I can be a medalist and I'm going to win, and like, because that just wasn't anywhere near possible. But I still went there with the intent of like, I'm here to perform and I'm here to give my best, and I want to put the best total up that I can and all the rest. So while you're in it, like, you're so focused and geared towards like chasing the performance. So like when I was in it, I didn't fully, I suppose, accept or appreciate the gravity. Obviously it's surreal, like the opening ceremony. Like I can tell you categorically, I have 5 moments in my life that they separate themselves from any other moment. And 2 of them are opening ceremonies, 2 of them are my children's birth, and the 5th one was when my wife walked down the aisle. And those 5 things separate because I've never experienced that form of feeling and euphoria like I have in those 5 moments, and it's very specific. So make no mistake, like you walk out the tunnel and you get into this 90,000 strong stadium, and like it's the Olympics and it's all the athletes, and it's like it is absolutely overwhelming and amazing. But my nature is also not one of intimidation. Like I'm not intimidated by labels and people and names and figures, and I'm not a fanboy. Like that's just not who I am. So yeah, it was overwhelming, but in like an epic way for me. But I don't think I truly appreciated how big it was until it was actually something in my past. Like to be like, holy shit, like you're an Olympian. Like I don't think of that often. I'm a normal person. I just worked hard for a long period of time. But yeah, the experience is something else, man. It's hard I do battle with my memory, so I don't remember a lot, but when I do start to think of some of the scenarios and the moments, and like it is surreal. I mean, you get to compete against the best, which for me was massive. Like when I went to World Champs and Olympics and all these big events, I'd spend 90% of my day like in the training hall, because I'm just like, I'm fascinated by how phenomenal some of these athletes are. Like the performances are just, they blow my mind. And I think you don't have an appreciation for that unless you actually pursue something like that. Like I mentioned, if you watch Floyd Mayweather box, like 99% of people have no cooking clue how incredible what he does actually is, because they've never had context. And I'm not saying I have it in a boxing realm, but I feel like I've experienced enough in sport to appreciate that all sports have their nuance, all sports require like an immense amount of work. So I can appreciate that. And then being around and amongst those athletes and seeing numbers being lifted. You can watch video after video after video, but when you're there and you like feel that energy and you see it, like it's different. So when you go to a training hall, like in my day, there was Hussein Rezazadeh, was the reigning heavyweight, I think he was a double Olympic and multiple world champion. Like when you just watch that guy, like just warm up, it's insane, man. It really is. So yeah, the experience was incredible, really incredible. But I think most of the athletes are there to actually just compete. So the athlete itself probably doesn't actually derive the same kind of mindset around being an Olympian until after the fact, whereas maybe the average Joe would be like, oh my word, you're an Olympic athlete. Because if you would go outside the village, that's kind of the response you'd get. If someone saw your accreditation on you, they would almost get act like a fanboy or a fangirl. And it's hard to put into words to a certain extent. Definitely some standout moments. But yeah, I think that's the beauty of sport, man. Sport can give you a lot of cool experiences and opportunities, eh?
Hold it.
I think, again, this is where hindsight and experience in life make a big difference. There's a lot about being an athlete that you literally have no cooking clue about what it's like to be a coach. And sometimes that's sad, because as an athlete you behave in a certain way, because we spoke a bit about ego and the need to be competitive and the need to win, and like that's half of the reason you become good, or at least as good as you can be. But then there's this other side where it's like you always, like you think you know better, and you think because you're the person doing it, you almost perceive like you know better than your coach because I'm feeling what I'm feeling. And I think only once you start coaching and you experience the other end of the stick do you realize, wow, like coaching is incredibly difficult, especially to manage certain types of personalities. I look back and I'm very grateful, and I did love it, but my dad was my dad, but my coach. So growing up, there were difficulties at times between, like, is he my coach first or my father first? Like, because it became one and the same. And I look back now and I'm like, yes, man, I was like so silly. Like, I'm so grateful for it, and it was such a cool experience to travel the world and have my dad there. And he's like, you know, he was at Commonwealth Games with me in the back. Olympics, he wasn't in the back, which is a whole nother discussion, but he was there and he was in the crowd. And it's like I am just an example of his work in a sense, you know, like that's without him and without all of the investment he put into me and the time and the knowledge, like that wouldn't have happened, you know. And it's not to say I couldn't have lifted under someone else and done well, but I just feel like he is the leader in the country in my mind as a coach. And I've seen a lot of lifters with other coaches that never amounted to the same performances, and I go, well, why didn't they? So to me, he was the segregator in a sense, so I'm lucky for that. And the experience is like, wow, like you get to see the world and see these big events, and like also we shared this passion where, like, if I see my dad now, it doesn't matter if it's for 1 hour or 5 hours, like 99% of the conversation is weightlifting, because we love the sport and we love like coaching people and discussing training ideas and techniques, and like it's just something we're passionate about. So to get to experience that was yeah, it's like very unique. So yeah, I wish I could go back with a bit more context now from a coaching side and be like, yes, I wish I gave him less shit. But when I look back, I think that's to my detriment. I think it affected my performances to a large degree. Yeah, like a lot of gratitude, but a lot of lessons that I wish I could go back and like give him less shit, listen to him more. You know, like I'd go to a comp and I'd miss an attempt and I'd tell him, just go up. But like I was an aggressive athlete. I wasn't a calm athlete. I was like, I enjoyed that environment. I enjoyed the aggression. I loved it. I thrived in it. If you want to be an athlete, be selfish. Make selfish decisions. Don't involve yourself or put yourself in positions where you have to compromise for other people, or people that are just don't get you or don't understand the way you tick or have a lesser mindset. And that's not to shit on people that don't have dreams and aspirations at all. It's just purely to say, but then people who don't have dreams and aspirations shouldn't be shitting on the people that do. Life comes with phases. What is wrong with giving your absolute all to a phase, and then when it comes to an end, shift the focus, create a new passion, evolve to something more? Yeah, it's not necessarily easy, but I think it's an emotional thing that makes us believe that it's not easy. It's like the emotional attachment to something that we maybe feel we can't get over. But I think again, it's a mindset, man. If you take that same obsessed nature and that competitiveness and you just literally channeled it to something else that interests you or something else you want to pursue, I don't think you'll have as much of a difficulty. Like, yeah, it's a transition and it is interesting and it is tough, but mindset, I think, matters. Like, I know there's a lot of athletes like that were in weight categories and divisions struggle with like weight gain, and they struggle with substance abuse. And like we were chatting about this, it fascinates me because some of these athletes are the most mentally powerful people, like while they're in that pursuit, and they develop like hordes of mental capacity and the ability to suffer. Like some athletes, the amount they can suffer is absolutely incredible. But then like you just change the scenario, you remove them from that situation, and then mind's like putty. And like it is fascinating. It's such an interesting dilemma. But again, I think it's just the inability to take that same way of thinking and just channel it into something else that stimulates you, makes you strive. Like that underlying mindset is still there. Just, I don't know, it needs to be redirected maybe. So I think coaching is not necessarily a natural progression, because also some athletes are absolutely bonkers and being a coach is probably not a good fit. But I think for a lot of people it can be a great fit because it's a way of staying within that passion and staying within that field, and all the experience that you've learned, like, you know, you can now pass that on, and like there's something pretty awesome about that. Maybe sometimes it becomes hard to humble ourselves to being the beginner again. You know, like when you leave being an athlete, you're at the top of your game, and now you have to accept that not only are you losing this chunk or this passion, but now you have that sense of like, I'm starting from scratch again. But it is what it is. Like, the sooner you just get over that hurdle, accept it, and then crack on, the sooner you're going to build something else, because you clearly have got the foundation. So yeah, it is tough. Like, as we were talking about, and I said to you, the realization that my career as a lifter had come to an end was not, it's not based on time, it's not based on anything other than the fact that my body just could not keep tolerating the abuse. And it was hard, because I'd go to competitions and I'd look at everyone as my competitor. Like, I want to beat you, I want to beat you, I want to beat you. I want everyone to do their best. I don't ever want you to miss a lift, or I don't want to beat you because you lost. I want to beat you because I beat you. And that was part of how I would think about everything. So that transition was tough, where I had to like almost like park the ego and be like, I'm not here to beat people, I'm here to coach people. It made it a lot easier to accept, you know? I think if I look back, like it happened, I got back from the Olympics. Obviously, I'm Olympian, you get Olympic rings tattooed on your body. I was looking for something that was a bit of a unique design. So I went to a guy, told him what I was thinking, he free-handed it, and then we did it. Yeah, and I don't think it's something I regret, but like, it's a weird thing. It's kind of like, why do people post on social media? Like, one or two friends that are in my close circle, and they understand. Like, my dad raised me like, be humble, like, don't talk about your own performance, let your performance talk for itself, like that kind of thing. So in the current ages, I struggle with social media personally. I love it in the sense of I have exposure to things that I enjoy at my fingertips, and a lot of it, and like knowledge and data and videos, and like it's very entertaining, cool. But I personally struggle. I struggle with like, who am I posting this to? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I battle to get over the concept of like what and who is the audience, and what does that lead to? It leads to this need that people I don't even know or give two hoots about, like acknowledge what I have or haven't done. And it's like, yeah, so for me, it's like a bit of a dilemma where I'm like, it borders on the concept of arrogance, which I detest. But at the same time, I'm human. So when people give you like props for your accolades, it does feel good. Like, that's why I believe in positive coaching, positive reinforcement, because when someone does something good and you give them that reinforcement of that was excellent, it stimulates them, makes them feel good, and it generally will make them want to work harder. So when you talk about the rings, I feel like in a lot of way, it's like a statement posted on social media, where it's like, when I look at it now, I'm like, I don't need these rings on me. Like, what I've done in my life is about me and me alone. It's got nothing to do with anyone else. I've had great experiences. I'm grateful for it. I've learned a lot. It's opened up so many doors that I still pursue today. But like, if no one knew who I was or what I've done, like, what difference does it make? Because I don't care about most people. I care about the small little circle I've got. And it doesn't mean I'm not, I'm horrible to people, or I'm a rude person, because I'm not. I genuinely am not, but I'm just not going to sit and bullshit like I care about everybody, and like, because I don't. So the reality is, when I think of the rings now, like older, I'm like, I'm proud that I gave what I gave to the sport, and I'm proud that I achieved what I feel at the time was like exploiting my limit. But I think if I knew what I knew today, I wouldn't put the rings on my body, to be honest. And it's not because I'm embarrassed. It's just, again, like, what, like if you look at it fundamentally, like, what is it there for? Like, anything on the outside is to show people. It's like I almost don't want people to know, in a sense. Like, I don't know, it's weird. Like, things go full circle sometimes. But the experience means a lot to me. But having people acknowledge my achievements don't, because I feel like it's chasing the wrong thing. And we're all humans, and I understand it's not like, if someone's like, oh my God, are those the rings? Did you go? And I'm like, yes. Like, it's actually nice, because it makes me reminisce, because I never think about it. I genuinely don't. I think about it maybe less than 5 times in a year. So it's almost like a nice reminder, like, oh yeah, cool. But I mean, I never see it personally. Yeah, and I look at it now and I'm like, it's almost like a bit of a call for attention. Exactly like I perceive a lot of things posted on social media is like, look at what I can do, or look at what I've done. And it's, I don't know, I struggle personally with that concept. And again, I'm not dogging anyone, each to their own. I don't hate on people for doing their thing, but then don't hate on me for having my opinion, you know? But I suppose it's a different way. It's more an old school way of seeing things, but in our current times. So yeah, I'm sure that's a bit of a different answer to what you would expect or most people would think, because I think the general run of the mill would be like, yeah, like it's such a proud thing and like I earned it, and like those things are true, but I don't need anybody else to know that that's true. Like it's only about me at the end of the day. My journey was my journey. It's for me to enjoy or learn or appreciate. Like if other people don't, it's not the end of the world, you know? So yeah, I got a different take on it, but like I think I tick a little bit differently. Like I don't understand a lot of these calls for attention, and I think in the long run it actually does a disservice to people, and it actually breeds a weaker mindset and a weaker society, because then there's this dependency on these external factors and you know, other people valuing what you do and don't do and this and that, and I'm like, well, that's half the problem. Like, just do your own thing and like don't give a shit about what other people say or think, you know? So yeah, that's a different take on it, I suppose. I gave a lot to it, and I know what I've done. That's all I need to say. And then I met my wife, and it was still like work at night, work on weekends, put in the hours, and then my children came along, and I was like, yo man, like at the end of the day, I think no one will ever lie on their deathbed and say, I wish I worked that extra hour. Or if someone close to you passes away, it's like, no one gives two hoots about their business or their work or like no one cares. I think the sooner you can realize, like, we want to do well and we want to earn an income and we want to be able to provide all these wonderful things, and that's great because that is how I'm wired. But fundamentally, nothing actually trumps the things that really matter. And the only thing that matters is like your very small circle. I don't need a lot of people around me, but my children and my wife for me are my family unit. Like everything else is like a bonus maybe, but that is my family unit. So I work hard and I enjoy working hard because it's part of my character. And it's not really anybody else's business, but when it comes to like, call it midday on a Saturday, I'm not interested in other people and other this and other that. I want to just be with my family. And we don't always get it right, especially like powerlifting, weightlifting coach. Like a lot of people don't realize, but there's a lot of weekends in the year where you actually, you're giving it to the sport, and you're going and you have to ref and you have to coach and this and that. And to a degree, it's unfortunate to have those opportunities, but I suppose there has to be like a hard line of like, Sundays, I don't do anything with anybody unless it's with my family. Like that is my absolute family day. And I suppose that's just a principle thing. There's no secret or special reason or remedy. It's just my principle. Like I love being around my kids and my wife. Even if my kids are jawling, doing their own thing, and my wife's busy making something on her phone for a birthday invite and I'm watching something, but we're all at home together, it just feels like peace. So yeah, I don't know, I think it's special and I think it's important, and it's like kind of like an earned thing. Like you put in 6 days of hard work and then you get that day to just relax with your family and be there, and I want to be present, and it's something I fail at all the time, but it's a work in progress. You got to always try and, I don't know, like remind yourself how grateful you are and try and reset and be present. But it's hard, man. This world distracts us a lot. There's so much going on. There's so many stress factors. Things are busy, but yeah, it's important to me. So yeah, I don't know. I don't really know how to answer the question as to the how or the why, but in my mind, it's a principle thing. Like I want to be there, therefore I will be there, you know? So I definitely think that the world's not equal and fair like people want to believe. and this concept of equality, I think, is a victim mindset. And I only say that because if you look at some of like the greatest athletes that have ever existed, like, don't be fooled, those oaks worked harder than anyone, but it was talent working harder than anyone. They are just freaks out there. I can work as hard as I can do as much as possible, and I can promise you now, I would never ever run faster than Usain Bolt. And that's not saying he never put in the work, because I guarantee you, he probably outworked everybody else. And that is the reason he became that great. But I think if you had to look at levels, because levels exist and levels are very real in everything. If you want to talk about martial arts, if you want to talk about lifting, if you like anything, levels exist. The reason why weightlifting and powerlifting specifically are such amazing sports to use as a measurement is because it removes the subjectivity. You know, like if you look at, like, say, jiu-jitsu, which is also a fascinating art and pursuit, very humbling, like broad, like it's amazing. But the reality is, like, a different style of opponent can create a different outcome for an athlete that may not be actually as good as the other one, but their style just kind of diminishes elements to their skill. Like, so there's an element of subjectivity there, right? And again, it's probably the one sport I've done where like luck does not exist. If you are shit or someone's better than you, you're getting beaten 100 out of 100 times. It's fascinating, which is amazing. But, you know, at the high level, like you just do one thing wrong at the wrong time against an opponent who's not actually as good as you, and you can lose. Like, that's the reality of, I suppose, combat, right? So as much as I love them as a measurement of levels, because like in those realms, like levels are extreme. Like the difference between a boxer who's been an amateur for a year and an amateur for 3 years is like significant. And then to a pro make his debut, and then to like the higher levels of professionals, and then the top tier, like it's mind-blowing how skilled and how many levels there are in those pursuits. But I think it stands true for everything, but some sports allow you to have a very objective measurement. And weightlifting and powerlifting, and believe it or not, things like athletics where there's times, or like jumping where there's heights, those are so objective because you can't bullshit. Like 100 kilos is always 100 kilos. How you deal with 100 kilos is the only thing that changes. So it's you that's changing around that. It's not that changes, you know? So if I go and I squat 300 and you squat 301, it doesn't matter who looked better, whose style was good, or who had a better haircut, or who's got a better six-pack. Like, that means shit. It means literally shit. The only thing that matters is objectively that beat that, you know? And that's pretty epic. So I think, and this is my opinion, that the top athletes that exist in this world are born special. I don't necessarily think they're only the best because they were born special. I've got an opinion that, yeah, that's why I spoke about levels. Like if I want to be a Gauteng champion, I feel like you could get anybody, doesn't matter how shit they are naturally, you could get them to the level where they could win a Gauteng title. Yes, if I'm running for Gauteng and Usain Bolt was born in Gauteng and he happens to be the best on earth, I'm not going to beat him. But let's park that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the level of, let's say a Gauteng champion needs to squat 200. You can take, and I've seen it many times, people that are no talent, like no natural coordination, they tight, they can't move, they're just not gifted in terms of physical athleticism, but they're gifted with a mind. And sometimes the people that are not gifted with the physical traits actually develop a better attitude and a better mind, because everything from day one is hard. So they develop a mindset of, well, then I must be prepared to work hard to conquer whatever obstacle there is. Sometimes, in my opinion, talented people actually never amount to much because things come too easily. And as things come easily, like they just don't generate or develop the same work ethic. Okay, but the person who's not physically gifted, he can get to a 200 squats. He puts in the work and he does everything he needs to. He's coachable, he's diligent, he can squat 200. Okay, but now let's say you want to win a national title, you have to squat 250. 250, like let's say an 83 or 93 kilogram guy, like for pretty much anybody to do that is close to impossible. like you're starting to get to the point where like now you have to separate that there has to be something backing this person physically. You know what I mean? Like there has to be something that's going to get you to conquer that physical kind of milestone. So I think then a national title, it's like maybe, let's say, a reasonably talented individual with a good work ethic can get to the 250 and maybe win the national title. But then you go from nationals, like you win a SAs, you go to worlds, you come last. That's our reality. Like Oaks can be upset if they want, but that's our reality. The level of strength in this world is phenomenal. But if you want to talk about strength, then you must talk about strength relative to what's possible. You shouldn't talk about it relative to what's 50% of what's possible, you know? So then you want to start talking about, okay, well, to be a world champion, like a 93, you got to squat like 340. Now you're like 340, like, I'm sorry, like if you took every person on planet Earth, gave them the opportunities, trained them for a decade, gave them the perfect mindset and all the rest, that's where I feel like you're probably only going to find a very few handful that could ever do that. That's the difference between, yes, that guy's talented and he worked harder than anyone else, and that combination creates the world champion or the best or the standout. So that's my take on it. I do, however, think that you can take anybody to a level higher than people think. I just don't think anybody could be a champion. I think they possess an X factor. A world champion is a sacred thing, and it should be treated as a sacred thing. And I suppose that's where sports like powerlifting actually piss me off, because there's so many federations and divisions and people, oh, I'm a world champion, but like you're not even lifting what gets done at a provincial championships in another federation. Like that frustrates me personally, because it diminishes what it means to be a world champion. A world champion should mean that at that time in the world, no one can lift more than me at that weight. No one. Irrelevant of who, how, where, what, no one. As soon as somebody else can, in my mind, you shouldn't be, that's not the definition of being the best on earth. So yeah, that'll make people a bit upset with me, but that's my perspective. I think it should be the most difficult pursuit there is. Like, to be the best on earth is sacred. So I don't think that is reserved for every second Tom, Dick and Harry. I think it's reserved for very special people. And that again is the reality of why the world is not equal, and people should just stop whining about it and accept that maybe I'm not good enough to be a world champion, but I should try and be as best I can be. That is what is in my control. So yeah, we can end on that, and hopefully it answers that question. Yeah, and maybe for the younger athletes, especially athletes that are like really talented and like they're prepared to put in the work and they can go far, like try, accept and learn as early as possible that this is a selfish pursuit and you're not wrong for choosing that. You know, yeah, it's just an opinion. Again, I went through things and I learned my own lessons, and I think it's almost sad or unfortunate for people or society to give an athlete shit for making decisions that suit the athlete when they're trying to be the best athlete they can. I think it's counterintuitive. So rather learn quite early that if this is the pursuit you choose to do, commit to it 100%, be unapologetic because of it, be tenacious in the pursuit, and don't worry about where you did or didn't get to. Just worry about the thing that you can control, and that is effort, and effort alone. That is the only thing that is in your control. Did I do everything that I possibly could to achieve whatever height I'm capable of achieving? Because you're never going to know. You're going to hit a pinnacle, and that's going to be your peak performance, and you don't know when you hit it. You don't know that, oh, the 200 kilogram squats I did today is actually the most I'll ever squat in my life. You're not going to know that. So yeah, like don't obsess about that. It is what it is. You're not going to change it regardless. So just focus on the pursuit of giving everything. Give it all. Unapologetically, give it all.